everybody. Happy Sunday here in the USA. I think it's Monday for you, right, Dave?
Yes, it is Monday morning, and I have a week off this week. Well, a week off from seeing clients anyway, not a week off from working.
Yeah, I know how that goes. And you're working on your second book. Is that correct?
Yes, this is the second book of a trilogy, a sci-fi trilogy that I'm writing, and called the Angelian Saga. I finished the first book last week. That's in the proofreaders right now, getting all checked over, and hopefully I'll be able to release that next week. And I have started on the second book of the trilogy, entitled Armageddon. And I'm posting the chapters on my Facebook page, as I always do. Chapter 1 is up there, and I've almost finished chapter 2, so that should be up there today sometime. So there you go.
Well, that's great. I'm just so they were talking about you a little bit on Coast to Coast Friday night.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
What they say?
Well, Connie Willis was interviewing George Duzman, who is the creator of CTT, which is something that I do. It's like a therapy, and she did ask George, because George did study under you. She asked George about you briefly, and she really wanted to go into the reverse speech. And but they didn't have time, but they did say your name a couple of times, David. So just so you know.
Oh, good. I am getting out there. That's nice to hear.
It's funny when you say I'm getting out there, because I know from your fans and just certainly following you, you were already out there. You were out there in a very big.
That's true. Yes, I was. Yes, in the 90s in particular, I was very big in the United States. I was on all the major TV talk shows and all the top radio shows. And that was flurry of activity in the late 90s, actually, from 96 through to 99. I was really the heyday of reverse speech in the United States. Mind you, of course, the work still continues. I've been back home now for more than 20 years in Australia, but it seems to be rising again in America. There's more and more interest, and from what you say about the discussions on Coast to Coast, it's all very exciting. So, we'll just sit back and wait and see what happens.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for continuing to do this work. The reason I like reverse speech, anybody can learn how to do it. A lot of predictions, they want to do mind probes, they want to learn more about really what's going on, but they're not psychic, and they're not a medium. And they're no good at tarot cards, and they're a disaster at remote viewing, and on and on and on. But reverse speech is definitely something that if they took your course and they learned how to do it properly, that is something that they could do if they have the time to explore that option. And that's why I like just doing these shows with you, and I appreciate you sharing your work with us. So thank you.
No, you're most welcome. Indeed.
Yeah. What do you have in store for us today? I can't wait.
Well, for those of you who know me, you'll know that every year I do a research project, and last year it was the churches, and of course I released my book, The Great Spiritual Darkness, just last month. And this year and next year as well, the field is so large, I'm researching UFOs and or UAPs, whatever they call them nowadays. The terminology seems to change with the times, and I'm trying to find out the truth about them. And I must admit, I'm a little bit surprised by my findings so far.
Really?
Yes, I have. When I did the churches, 90% of all the ministers I looked at were lying frauds. I mean, they really.
I saw some of those. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just really no way to soft pedal it. Okay, I expected to find similar in the UFO field, but I haven't. So far, 80% of the people I've looked at are telling the truth. Now, there are a few cons in the field. David Wilcott's very good. Stephen Marshall's three I've found so far. I'm sure I'll find more as I go on. But the majority of people I've looked at so far have been basically telling the truth in one way, shape, or form. So, which was a surprise to me because I honestly wasn't expecting that. So, so why don't I just play some of my initial findings? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in time to the late 1950s and look at a UFO researcher well known in the time called George Adamski. And George Adamski came to have contact with aliens and ETs, and he was extremely well known in that time. So let me play you. I'm not going to play all of them. I'll just play a select few, and let me see. Where will we start? We'll start with this one. Okay, so here was the forward. Now, bear in mind, this is old audio. This is the late 1950s.
And that they didn't know why it did not land, so they consulted a medium down there at San Diego to follow the ship up Minsley.
Okay, he's talking about following a ship in San Diego. Okay, and backwards he says they're more circular. Can you hear that, or is that audio too old?
I could make out what it was saying because you gave us the premise of what it was.
Right. Right, they're more circular. Okay, so he's describing the craft. It's what we call a congruent reversal. Okay, so all right, then we've got another reversal.
So we had an argument going on. Strong company. Most of the people there, they come up to the restaurant to eat. And I was saying at the time, it was fantastic, basing it at the time on the information received through astronomical teachings.
And in Blackwoods, in the blood, Terran. And what does in the blood Terran mean? Well, Terran obviously is Earth. Okay. So let us get a little bit out there. Here we go.
So the moon even went to a moon picture that I had good size, about 4 kilometers, that I got from the McDonald Observatory of Texas. And they even marked the side that I shouldn't watch.
And here he says, where's the command in Messiah? Did you hear that one? Where's the command in Messiah? Okay.
What is that supposed to mean?
What indeed does that mean? Well, it's the first clue of a trend I'm finding in ET and UFO contactees of a spiritual phenomena about these ETs. Okay. And we seem to have ETs from the light and ETs from the dark, based on what I'm finding so far. So here's another one of these spiritual type reversals.
So the denial kept on going. I have a whole stack of clippings going on a battle between Washington and the Tribune and the Union.
And he says, show me, be forever God.
Show me
So there's our mystery. And as far as did he see a real spacecraft, well, then we have these two reversals here.
They were seen landing there by the big observatory, men getting out of the ships, looking around, walking around, boarding in the ship again, and taking off.
Okay, so he said he saw the ship land, the aliens hopped out of the ship, they walked around, and they walked back in the ship and took off. And backwards it says, Spaceship the One.
Spaceship One. Spaceship One.
Spaceship the One, followed by this reversal here, where he says, that's the power ship.
Cleopatra.
Could you hear those reversals, or was the audio too old?
That was, I didn't really hear that one too clearly.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, look, let's go to something a little bit more modern, and see if we.
Before you do that, can I just ask you? Somebody wanted me to ask you this question,
Yes.
because they do follow your work quite closely, and they want to know why does the subconscious speak backwards? Do you know why that is?
Well, reversing functions in the human brain have been documented for many, many, many years. The sight is reversed by the lens of the eyes, so it's processed by the brain. The left to right brain hemispheres are mirror images of each other. A lot of children's cognitive process develop in reverse before they do forward. Some children will actually crawl backwards before they crawl forwards first. So the fact that the brain operates with reversing functions has been well documented for quite some time. So why is it backwards? Well, reverse speech is coming from the right brain hemisphere, which is a mirror image of the left. And so we have mirror speech or backward speech. Also, too, it's unconscious, so therefore it can't be forwards. It has to be hidden somehow, and so backwards is the way it hides it. I personally think there's also other messages going at very high speeds and very slow speeds as well, but I haven't done no research into that at all. Well, actually, I did way back in my very early years, 40-odd years ago, and I haven't touched it since. So there's not. I believe the unconscious is communicating in multiple different ways, of which reverse speech is one of them, and it's backwards because it's unconscious. If that makes sense.
It does. It does make sense. And when you did the child video, probably a month ago now,
right?
I know for a fact that the subconscious speaks before the conscious speaks. And the reason I know that is because I use a style of remote viewing, and I've actually had to probe a pregnant mother. So I was talking to the baby before the baby was even born. Now, in the womb, the baby doesn't talk, or at least we don't believe the baby talks. And but I was communicating telepathically via the subconscious of the baby to my conscious mind, and I was relaying messages to the mother. And I even asked the baby. She said, "Oh, is the baby a boy or a girl?" And so I asked the baby. I said, "Are you a boy or a girl?" And the baby said, "I'm a girl." And then the next week, she went for her scan, and she was having a girl. And yeah. So, I mean, I know that the subconscious language is formed well before the conscious language.
Yeah. Well, that's what all my research shows, and I published my theory about reverse speech in children back in '91 in my book Hidden Messages in Human Communication, where I spent a whole chapter on reverse speech in children, claiming that children indeed speak in reverse before we speak forwards. So, so that's been published for 32 years. 91 that came out. It's 2022, so 31 years now.
Oh my God, I can't believe how long you've been doing this.
A long time.
That's really passion and dedication for you, because a lot of people do not stick with things for that long. And even in my field as a psychic medium, doing these mind probes and doing readings and making predictions, I'm like, I wonder if I'll be able to do this like David Oates for like 30 or 40 years. Wow.
Well, look, once you know the implications of reverse speech, I don't know how you cannot dedicate your life to it. I mean, it really is the hope for the planet. It's once it's accepted, it's going to lead us into a new age of truth and honesty. Well, that won't be an easy transition, of course. There'll be a lot of governments and corporations fighting tooth and nail against that, so it may not be an easy transition, but it's inevitable. It will come. It will come eventually.
You know, I just quickly before you go on to more aliens, when you were talking there, and I agree with what you say, but when you were talking there, have you actually reversed any of these scientists that talk about climate change? Because I did a viewing that went out 200 years, and 200 years, our life looks pretty bleak. We are rationed on food. We're rationed on the amount of trips we can take. Most people are pretty much staying indoors because every time you walk out the door, and you are not using your feet, you're creating a carbon footprint. You have to offset that carbon footprint. Most people financially will not be able to do that. And so this was a way that the governments were eventually going to try to control us, is by using the environment as that, means to do so. So just to put a little seed in your head there, maybe you can do that someday as one of your projects to see how accurate these climate change scientists are. I'm not a climate change denier. I'm not at all, but it would just be interesting to see if if any information correlates with that viewing that I got 200 years out.
Yeah. Well, I've done no work on climate change scientists, but your story reminds me of way back in 1999 when the world was all paranoid about Y2K coming, and all the computers were going to shut down. The planet was going to fall into the dark ages, and anyway, I was on the Preparedness Expo lecture circuit back in 99, and they were all about the coming apocalypse and the computers shutting and the whole world shutting down, and I was doing reversals on some of these key Y2K proponents, and all their reversals were saying nothing's going to happen. It's a big nothing, and they were talking forwards about the calamity that was about to fall that planet, and all the reversals were saying no, nothing's going to happen. So I started lecturing at these shows saying, hey, listen, this is all paranoia. We're going to be fine. We're going to sail right through Y2K. Anyway, I wasn't very popular, unfortunately, because I went against the grain of what everyone believed was happening. But yeah, I should look at climate change proponents in one of my many spare moments. Which
isn't much at all. I know you don't have a lot of spare time. You're so busy, but sorry about that. Let's continue. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt with all those questions, but
no, that's okay.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. This is all very interesting discussion. Nothing wrong with that.
I think so.
Okay, so let's look at a woman named Dolly who was on the Jeff Rense program recently. Now, Dolly claims that she's in regular contact with ETs, and she's a piloted spacecraft across the solar system, and so let's look at a couple of her reversals. So here's the first one.
Take either one. My father is a contactee. He's also a hybrid. Most of my genetic sources from my father.
And she says, love him. What's the saucer? So love him. She loves his father. And what's the saucer? What saucer is she talking about? Well, let's have a look at some other reversals here, and I'm just pulling them out at random here. Where's the one I'm looking for? Oh yeah, here we go. Okay.
Obviously.
I have a lot of respect for her.
Mhm.
All of them, I honor them. They are, I hero worship them. My father was also a hero to me. Also, I absolutely honor.
And she says her thought in the grey. I presume grey refers to an alien grey. Okay, so she's talking about grey. She's talking about sources. She seems to be telling a true story. And then we get reversal out of left field like this.
We build up. We actually build a better us as we do this. This is the reason we exist in this realm, why we come here. This is what karma is about. We learn our lessons and we take what we learn and we wear it and we move on.
You, backwards, she says, you will get in the Zeus, Zeus.
We will get you in the Zeus. We will get you in the Zeus. We will get you in the Zeus.
Okay, so here we have a mystery. What is an ancient Roman god? Is Zeus Roman or Greek? I don't know. I apologize if I got it wrong. What's an ancient god doing in their reversals? And what's the Messiah doing in the reversals of George Abdansky? And then we hear some rather ominous reversals.
Realm right now in a dimensional world, a 3D dimensional world. And so you're kind of a little bit not aware in this particular paradigm of the total picture, the total story.
They're all slaughtered.
They're all slaughtered. They're all slaughtered.
I remember I played reversals on Apollo 12 last show and talked about a fight or a war. I mean, I don't know what all this means yet. I mean, I've got a lot more work to do, but it means something. And here we've got one here.
I know with our solar system, I'm trained for a mission that I've yet to finish here.
And she simply says they've got a mission.
Right now, I'm missing. Right now, I'm missing. Right now, I'm missing.
So I assume she's telling a true story, but there's a whole lot more to this ET phenomena that meets the eye. For example, on this reversal here.
So it's a sort of a normal exercise for them to do.
And backwards, rage, murder.
Rage, murder. Rage, murder. Rage, murder.
And followed by this one here.
And unfortunately, in this particular paradigm, this physical realm that we're all in, there is a coexisting negative existence as well.
And backwards she says, is there rape? Rape.
Is there it? Is there it?
And then followed by this reversal here, then I'll tell you what I think all this means.
Reorganizing, reconnoitering, trying to keep things, motivated and going. Especially when they see a bunch of people like us messing it up and they pull them out.
And then she says, the beast in on your ships.
No beast in on your ships. No beast in on your ships. No beast in on your ships.
Because the beast refers to Satan, the great beast, or the Antichrist. And so what are we looking at here with this whole ET UFO phenomena? I don't know, but I do know we're getting a lot of reversals of a spiritual nature. And I just started doing research into the Skinwalker Ranch, and finding interesting reversals, which I still have yet to fully understand what they mean. Oh, there's nothing here for spiritual nature. Sorry, I thought I had spiritual reversals here. No. All right, let's look at another UFO contactee. Let me see. Oh, the great Travis Walton, well-known case from 1973 or 74, claimed to be abducted, taken up in a UFO, experimented on, and he came back, passed numerous lie detector tests, claimed to be telling a true story. Here he is talking about his experience on the Joe Rogan show.
Well, these crystals are supposed to have very special properties for people who are into crystal stuff, but
what does that say there, Jamie? This is what happens. That's what can.
And he says, I see the powerful ship.
see it a powerful ship. See it a powerful ship. See it a powerful ship.
Okay, so we assume from that he's telling a true story. When he said he saw the ship, he didn't indeed see a ship. This is followed by this reversal here.
Yeah, he came up to this area right after my incident happened, and
he says the Grey see this spot.
Here I say this spot.
The Grey see the spot.
Here I say this spot. Here I say this spot.
And once again, we have a reference to Greys or the alien Greys. Then we have an ominous reversal.
It can't be a campsite because it's coming from higher than where the crest of the ridge. You can estimate, even though you can't see it, the trees are too thick.
It says, planet, you will attack it.
Planet, you will attack it. Planet, you will attack it. Planet, you will attack it.
So, clearly there's something going on with these ETs, but they aren't benign by a long shot from what I'm finding. So, I don't know. This is going to be a 2-year research project at least, maybe even go on for 3 years. It's going to be a lot longer than I spent on the churches. Ufology is such a huge field, and right now I only have questions. And I will keep you updated with my regular finding and research as the next couple of years progress. But I'm determined to get to the bottom of this whole UFO phenomenon and find out what it's really all about.
Well, there are a lot of theories out there. My biggest questions are, why is it that they are extremely telepathic? And whenever I even talk about them, they'll appear, because I'm a psychic medium. So they'll even appear and they want to connect with me and they want me to share their message with humanity. But whenever I look at them, it's always very dark. It's not like white light beings or anything like that.
No.
I've had them jump up in my face and that was recently, but I'd had that done before. I just don't find evidence for right now, and hopefully maybe through you will in the future, but I just don't find evidence of harmless white light beings that are here to do good. Now, somebody had said that possibly UFOs or aliens were demons in disguise for the dark, and in order to entice us and make us fascinated by it. So who knows? I actually don't know.
I don't know either. Ask me in 2 years when I write my book.
Oh, that's funny. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Now, course, have you already started your next course?
Yes, it started last week. There's still time to join this class if you wish. The first class was recorded. Like I say, every radio show, we need people out there doing this field. It's such an important technology and it needs people. If you're at all interested, email me at backwards@reversespeech.com. It's not too late to join the current class. The next class will be starting in 6 or 7 months from now.
Oh,
so there we go.
Okay. And how long do your classes run?
Well, there's two courses altogether. The first one is 6 months. That trains you how to locate reversals and interpret them accurately. And then the second one is a year. That's where I teach the whole therapeutic side of the business and how to do metaphor restructuring and rewrite human personality and behavior. That's the fairly intensive year. So,
Mm.
so 18 months order. You might as well say 2 years by the time you do all courses.
But I think that's fair because really, in order to do something exceptionally well, you do have to dedicate at
I
least 2,
agree.
if not 4 years to it. I mean, take
Yes,
for
you do.
instance,
Yes, you
remote
do.
viewing.
I
Um,
know.
it took me a long time to learn. It wasn't instant. It wasn't like, oh, okay, and now I'm a remote
No,
viewer,
I
and
know.
not, it takes a long time of study and research. And
I
it was
know.
the same with the CTT. I studied under George Duzman for almost 4 years, and the only reason I'm not studying under him at the moment, A, is because I know how to do it, but B, he's very unwell. So, but I think 2 years, 18 months, 2 years is very fair to
Oh,
become
I
an
think it is
expert.
too. I have people complain about the work, and I just look and will say, "You ever looked at a university course trying to be a lawyer or a doctor? What I'm asking you to do is nowhere near as much as they're asking you to do. Come on, learn
Yeah.
it. It's fun." Anyway,
It's
there
fun.
you go.
Yes, you're right. Because I did go to law school, and there were aspects of it that were fantastic, but then there were other aspects of it that were horrible. And now I
Yeah.
could kick myself for not paying attention to copyright law class. I hated that class, but I know how useful it is. Definitely, I think 2 years is very fair. So again, if anybody does want to sign up for that course, and again, the way I look at it is it's a way to be psychic, it's a way to be a medium, it's a way to delve into, minus the 3D thinking and delve into deeper things without being psychic or being a medium. It's an opportunity. So that's all
Yeah.
I have to say. But thank you so much. And we appreciate you coming by to share those reversals.
No
And
worries. Most
please
welcome.
Please look David up on Facebook as well. He posts a lot of reversals on Facebook on the David Oates page. So that's where I tend to find a lot of the information. So thank you, David. I appreciate you coming by tonight.
You're most welcome. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, I can't wait. I wonder what you have in store for us next week. It'll be fun.
Have no idea yet.
Thank you so much.
Okay, no worries. Bye bye. See you.